Ethan had never imagined that his next assignment would take him to the edge of the galaxy. As a human explorer, he had seen strange worlds before, but nothing quite like Scifi Prime. The planet shimmered under two suns, its surface dotted with towering crystal spires and flowing rivers of glowing liquid. The mission was simple on paper: establish peaceful contact with the planet's native rulers, a highly intelligent alien species whose civilization was as advanced as it was mysterious. Ethan's shuttle descended slowly toward the capital city. The landing platform sparkled with a polished metallic surface that reflected the sunlight in dazzling patterns. Aliens of various shapes and sizes moved gracefully across the platform, some flying, some gliding, all with a sense of elegance that humans rarely displayed. Ethan felt both awe and nervousness. First impressions mattered here, and he knew the stakes were high. He followed the local guides through a series of arching corridors that led into the Queen's palace. The walls were made of a translucent material that glowed faintly, changing color with the mood of the palace inhabitants. Everywhere he looked, Ethan saw signs of advanced technology seamlessly blending with the beauty of organic design. He felt like he had stepped into a living organism rather than a building. Finally, he was led into a large hall where the Queen awaited. She was taller than any human, with luminous blue skin and eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of centuries. Her movements were calm and deliberate, exuding authority without aggression. On her lap sat her child, a small alien infant with delicate features, soft glowing patterns across its skin, and large, curious eyes. The baby cooed softly, but there was a tension in the room that Ethan immediately sensed. The Queen smiled politely at Ethan and gestured for him to approach. "We welcome your presence on Scifi Prime," she said in a voice that was melodious yet firm. "Your species has rarely interacted with ours. We are cautious, but we are willing to observe your intentions." Ethan bowed slightly, careful not to startle the baby. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he replied. "I am here to help and to learn. My team and I wish only to build trust and friendship between our people." Before the conversation could continue, an unexpected event disrupted the calm atmosphere. A sudden energy surge from the palace's core systems caused lights to flicker and walls to hum with vibrations. The baby cried out loudly, emitting a piercing sound that seemed almost mechanical yet full of emotion. The sound was so intense that even the guards flinched, covering their ears. Ethan felt a sharp ache in his own ears but focused on the infant. The Queen's expression tightened with worry. "It is rare for our child to react this way," she said softly, more to herself than to Ethan. "No one can calm it once it becomes frightened." Ethan glanced at the baby. The alien infant's large eyes were wide with fear and its tiny limbs flailed. He realized that traditional methods of soothing, rocking or cooing, would not work here. The alien biology was unfamiliar, but Ethan had studied animal behavior on various planets. Calmness, patience, and gentle movements were universal keys to trust. Taking a deep breath, Ethan slowly stepped closer. He spoke in a low, steady voice, humming a simple tune his grandmother had taught him long ago. He extended a hand toward the baby without making sudden movements. For a moment, nothing happened. The baby's cries continued, filling the hall with an uncomfortable resonance. Then, something remarkable occurred. The baby's cries softened and it tilted its head, gazing curiously at Ethan. Slowly, Ethan placed his hand near the baby, allowing the infant to approach at its own pace. Inch by inch, the baby leaned into Ethan's touch and a faint glow pulsed along its skin, signaling comfort. The guards and palace attendants stared in astonishment, whispering among themselves. Finally, the baby nestled into Ethan's arms, cooing softly and resting its small head against his chest. Ethan held the baby carefully, making sure not to restrict its movements. He spoke softly, continuing his humming, and the tension in the room seemed to dissolve. Even the Queen's worried expression softened as she watched her child calm in the arms of a human. You have done what no one else could," the Queen said, her voice filled with wonder. She stepped closer, her eyes studying Ethan carefully. "How did you manage to calm my child?" Ethan shrugged modestly. "I didn't do much," he said. "I just stayed calm myself. Sometimes fear spreads when people or babies sense tension. I tried to show that it was safe." The Queen studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Your understanding of fear, your patience, it is extraordinary. Humans are not often known for such qualities among strangers." You have impressed me. Ethan felt a mix of pride and humility. He knew he had only acted out of instinct and experience, but the Queen's reaction told him that his actions carried much more significance here than he had imagined. As the energy surge settled and the palace systems returned to normal, the Queen approached Ethan and her child. "You have earned my respect," she said. "I must consider how best to honor your courage. There are customs, rare among our people, for those who demonstrate such care for the next generation." Ethan blinked. "Your Majesty, I only wanted to help. I do not need any reward." The Queen smiled, a faint glow of amusement in her eyes. "Sometimes what begins as help becomes something more important. We shall see." For the first time, Ethan felt that his presence here was not only necessary but also meaningful. He held the baby carefully, feeling the warmth of life so different from his own species yet surprisingly familiar in its vulnerability. Around him, the palace attendants whispered in amazement, and even the guards relaxed. The baby's cries had stopped, leaving only a soft cooing sound. By the end of the day, Ethan realized that his simple act of calming the Queen's child had done more than soothe an infant. It had bridged a gap between human and alien understanding, a step toward trust and perhaps something even deeper. The Queen, once distant and cautious, now observed him with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. Ethan left the hall with the baby safely returned to its crib, but he knew that this encounter would change his mission forever. What had begun as a simple diplomatic assignment now carried the weight of personal connection, respect, and perhaps destiny. As he walked back through the glowing corridors of the palace, Ethan felt a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. Somewhere deep in the heart of Scythera Prime, a bond had been formed, one that could shape the future of two worlds. After the incident with the Queen's baby, Ethan's presence at the palace changed. He was no longer just a visitor. The Queen's attendants treated him with cautious respect, and the guards watched him with curiosity instead of suspicion. Ethan could feel the weight of their eyes on him as he moved through the glowing corridors of Scythera Prime's palace. But he also felt a sense of purpose he had never known. The Queen, whose name was Liara, invited Ethan to stay longer, explaining that it was important for humans to understand her culture if they were to establish lasting friendship. Ethan agreed, seeing this as an opportunity to learn and to continue building trust. He moved into a guest chamber, a room that shimmered softly with bioluminescent walls. Everything here seemed alive, responsive, intelligent, almost as if the palace itself observed him. Over the next few days, Ethan studied the customs of Liara's people. He learned to greet the court with gestures that conveyed respect without dominance. He learned the subtleties of conversation, where pauses and tone mattered more than words. And, most importantly, he spent time with the baby, whose name was Aori. Aori's personality was already strong despite its young age. Sometimes it cooed happily, playing with Ethan's fingers, and other times it made small sounds of displeasure if he moved too quickly. Ethan paid close attention, learning to read these subtle cues. He realized that the baby's reactions were not random, but reflected intelligence and emotion far beyond what he expected. The bond between them grew with every passing day. One afternoon, the calm of the palace was broken by a warning alert. Sensors in the outer regions of the palace indicated that a hostile faction from a nearby territory was approaching the capital. They were known for their aggressive tactics and had clashed with Liara's people before. The court erupted in controlled chaos, with attendants rushing to secure the palace and guards preparing for possible conflict. Ethan stayed calm. He had studied strategy during his training as an explorer, and he knew that panic would make the situation worse. He offered to help the Queen's advisors analyze the incoming threat and suggest a plan to protect the palace. The advisors were skeptical after all. Ethan was human, and humans rarely had experience with alien warfare, but they reluctantly agreed to listen. Ethan observed the palace defenses and suggested a series of redirecting barriers that could slow the enemy without harming anyone. He also recommended using sound and light signals to confuse the approaching forces, a tactic humans sometimes used with wildlife, but never with intelligent species. The advisors hesitated, but Liara's calm voice encouraged them to try Ethan's ideas. When the hostile faction arrived, Ethan's strategies worked perfectly. The barriers delayed their approach, and the light signals created enough confusion to force them to retreat without any direct combat. The court watched in astonishment as a human, unfamiliar with their customs and technology, managed to protect the palace in a way that even the seasoned advisors had not thought of. Liara approached Ethan afterward, her eyes wide with admiration. "You have done what no one expected," she said. "Your mind, your courage, it is remarkable. You are more than a guest. You are a protector." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. He had acted without thinking of reward or recognition, yet his actions earned respect and trust. But it was not just about strategy. He had noticed how attentive he had been to the emotions of everyone in the palace, from guards to attendants to the queen's child. That attention to detail, combined with human ingenuity, made a difference. As days passed, Ethan's bond with Ori deepened. The baby would reach for him first thing in the morning and fall asleep in his arms at night. Liara watched silently, sometimes smiling, sometimes thoughtful. She had seen many aliens try to approach her child, but none had succeeded. Ethan's gentle nature and steady presence had earned something few could: Ari's complete trust. One evening, Liara invited Ethan to the palace gardens. The gardens were vast, filled with plants that glowed softly and water streams that shimmered with color. Ethan marveled at the beauty and complexity of the flora, noting how every element seemed connected and balanced. "You have done more than calm my child," Liara said softly, walking beside him. "You have shown patience, intelligence, and courage. In our history, those who protect the young often become part of the family. Humans are not known for such qualities among strangers. You have surprised me." Ethan shook his head modestly. "I did what anyone would do. Ori is innocent and afraid. I could not just stand by." Liara smiled, but there was seriousness in her eyes. "Your actions show a rare combination of heart and mind. It is unusual for humans to care so deeply for those outside their own species. You have earned more than respect. You have earned trust." The following week brought new challenges. The palace received messages from other alien territories, some friendly, some cautious. Ethan was asked to accompany Liara and her advisors to several diplomatic meetings. He observed differences in culture, technology, and behavior, using his human perspective to find solutions where alien traditions seemed to clash. Each time, his suggestions prevented misunderstandings, earning him quiet nods of approval from Liara's counsel. Through all this, Ori remained his constant companion. During one particular meeting, the baby began to fuss, sensing tension in the room. Ethan quietly excused himself, taking Ori to a nearby chamber. He hummed a soft tune, just as he had done the first day, and the baby relaxed instantly. Liara, observing from the doorway, realized that Ethan's influence on her child went beyond mere comfort. It was trust. Respect and understanding rolled into one. By the end of part 2, Ethan had not only gained a place of respect in the palace, but had also begun to feel at home among these aliens. His actions were small gestures of kindness and courage, yet they had large consequences. Trust was growing, alliances were strengthening, and the Queen herself had begun to see him as someone truly extraordinary. Ethan, once a stranger in a foreign world, was now someone indispensable. He had earned the Queen's trust, the respect of her court, and most importantly, the love of her child. He understood that this bond, delicate yet powerful, might be the key to uniting humans and aliens in ways no one had imagined. Weeks passed, and Ethan's life at the palace became more intertwined with the rhythm of Liara's world. He had learned to navigate the delicate balance between human logic and alien tradition. His connection with Ori, the Queen's baby, had grown into a deep bond. Every morning the baby would reach for him with small glowing hands, and every night it would rest peacefully in his arms. The warmth and trust he shared with Ori had not gone unnoticed. Liara watched silently as Ethan interacted with her child. She was impressed not only by his patience but also by his genuine care. Few had ever approached her family with such respect, and none had earned Ori's trust so quickly. For Liara, Ethan was becoming more than a visitor. He was a symbol of humanity's potential for kindness, intelligence, and courage. One day, a diplomatic crisis arose that would test Ethan's position in ways he had never expected. A delegation from a powerful neighboring planet arrived unannounced, demanding a formal discussion regarding the borders and trade routes of Scifi Prime. Their tone was aggressive, and their technology far exceeded that of the average visitor. The palace buzzed with tension as advisors prepared for negotiation. Ethan was invited to observe the meeting, and he noticed immediately that traditional protocols would not prevent conflict. The alien delegates respected strength and calm intelligence, not emotion or ritual. He whispered suggestions to Liara during the early stages, showing her how to adjust her words and tone to project authority without aggression. His human insight, combined with careful observation of alien body language, allowed the Queen to negotiate with confidence. When a sudden misunderstanding threatened to escalate into a confrontation, Ethan acted decisively. He suggested a symbolic gesture, a shared ritual of lighting a ceremonial crystal, something simple but meaningful to both sides. The gesture worked. Tensions eased, and the delegation left satisfied, unaware of how narrowly a conflict had been avoided. Liara glanced at Ethan, her eyes reflecting both admiration and gratitude. After the meeting, Ethan returned to the gardens with Ari in his arms. The baby cooed happily, reaching out to touch Ethan's face. Liara approached them quietly. "You have done more than I ever imagined," she said. "You have not only earned my trust, but you have also earned the trust of my people. Your courage, intelligence, and care have proven you to be extraordinary." Ethan smiled humbly. "I only did what I could. I wanted to help, to understand, and to protect. Especially Ari." Liara knelt beside them, her hands lightly brushing over Ethan's. "Your bond with Ari is remarkable. No alien has ever achieved this in such a short time. You have shown patience, empathy, and respect beyond what most of my people could manage. For this I must honor you in a way that is rare and meaningful." Ethan looked at her, puzzled. "Honor me? I don't need honor, Your Majesty. I only care for your child and for peace." Liara smiled gently. "Sometimes what begins as service becomes more. In our tradition, the one who earns the trust of the child becomes a part of the family. More than that, they can become a partner to the one who bears the child. Ethan, I offer you marriage." The words hung in the air. Ethan felt a mixture of surprise and disbelief. Marriage to a queen, a ruler of a distant world? It seemed impossible. Yet as he looked at Ari's trusting eyes and Liara's sincere gaze, he realized this offer was more than ceremony. It was a recognition of everything he had done and a bond that had grown naturally over time. "Marriage?" Ethan asked softly, searching for the right words. I never imagined this. I don't know your customs fully, and I am only human. I do not deserve such an honor." Liara reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You do not see yourself as I see you. You have courage, wisdom, and a gentle heart. You have protected my child and my people. That is the highest honor in my world. If you accept, it will unite our peoples and ensure peace for generations." Ethan took a deep breath. He thought of all the days he had spent in the palace, the quiet moments with Ori, the tense moments of negotiation, and the growing respect and trust of the Queen and her people. He realized that he cared deeply for both Liara and her child. This offer was not just about duty. It was about connection, loyalty, and love. I accept," Ethan said finally, his voice steady. "Not out of duty, but because I want to protect both of you, and because I care." Liara's eyes glowed softly, a mix of relief and happiness shining through. "Then it is settled," she said. "You are now a part of our family, and together, we will protect this world." The announcement was met with surprise and admiration throughout the palace. Advisors and attendants whispered among themselves, impressed by the choice of a human as a partner for their queen. Ethan noticed nods of respect from the guards who had once viewed him as an outsider. He had not only earned trust, he had earned a place in history. That evening, the palace held a small ceremony to celebrate the bond between Ethan and Liara. Crystals glowed with soft light, and the gardens were filled with the gentle hum of alien energy. Ari sat happily in Ethan's arms, cooing as if understanding the significance of the moment. Liara and Ethan stood together, watching their child play among the glowing plants. For Ethan, the ceremony was not about power or status, it was about connection, trust, and family. He felt a sense of belonging he had never known, bridging two worlds with patience, courage, and care. As the twin sun set over Scifi Prime, casting golden and purple light across the palace, Ethan realized the truth of his journey. He had come to this world as a human stranger, unsure of his place. Yet through kindness, intelligence, and bravery, he had formed a bond that crossed species, culture, and expectation. He was no longer just an explorer. He was a protector, a friend, and now a partner to a queen. Liara placed a hand on Ethan's, and together they watched the soft glow of the palace gardens. Ari nestled contentedly in Ethan's arms, eyes closed in trust and happiness. In that moment, everything felt right. Two worlds, once distant, were now connected by courage, compassion, and love. And as the night sky shimmered with the light of distant stars, Ethan understood that this was only the beginning. Together with Liara and Ari, he would face whatever challenges lay ahead, confident that human courage and empathy could bridge even the widest gaps in the galaxy.